Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high, guys. Uh, it didn't take long for Bitcoin to kind of reverse back and recover a lot of the gains that were made early in January 2025. So in this video, we're going to talk about basically what's up next for Bitcoin. I take a look at some of the key indicators. I'm going to kind of give you guys some potential price targets to kind of look at because I do not believe that this is the top. Okay, there are a couple of things to kind of think about. So let's just talk about them very quickly. So first off, Bitcoin, $111,000 as of I uploaded this video, guys. I told you guys that saving in Bitcoin would just make everything much cheaper for you, and so far that's been the truth. So what's been going on is that there's been a ton of companies that have actually figured this out and realized that not only is saving in Bitcoin good for the average Joe, but it's also good for corporations. So we've seen an explosion of new Bitcoin treasury companies come up, right? ASST, American Bitcoin, okay, a couple of companies in the Middle East. There's been some new medical companies, CEP. So when you kind of see the billionaires getting involved with mergers and acquisitions in Bitcoin, that's extremely bullish. And I think because people have realized that Bitcoin's kind of hit an inflection point in terms of price. I think now everyone's very comfortable with Bitcoin being over $100,000, and that's when a lot of new money is gonna come into the space simply because they're not scared or worried about Bitcoin crashing back down to 50,000 or 25,000 or something like that. That was the biggest hurdle for a lot of people. They're just scared in the fear of Bitcoin going towards zero. But as Bitcoin moves closer and closer to 150 and 200,000, that fear of Bitcoin going to zero simply goes away because there are millions and millions of people and companies now that are saving in Bitcoin. So if you guys were worried about Bitcoin crashing to zero, something like that, I would really say, chill out, don't worry. Bitcoin is a sound alternative to the dollar or any other currency, even gold. So a lot of people aren't going to just get rid of their Bitcoin because really there's really nothing comparable that you can really trade it for unless there's some new invention or some technology or something like that. So now let's talk about what's next. Very important, guys. Pay attention, okay? I was talking to some of my clients and I told them that we would be experiencing all-time highs at the end of May. But don't think that Bitcoin is just going to run straight to 200,000. That's not how things work. So I think the local top is 120K, okay? Why? 120K by May 30th. Why May 30th? Well, on May 27th to May 29th, the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Las Vegas is happening. Tens of thousands of Bitcoiners from all over the world will come to Las Vegas, aka America's Sin City, and talk about Bitcoin for 3 days. This is an extremely bullish yet bearish event. So what I expect to happen is I expect Bitcoin to run up very aggressively towards the end of May 2025, and then I think it takes a dump. Simply takes a dump because the conference for me is the local top. It's the local peak in the cycle, okay, which I think about 120,000. So I still think that now Bitcoin's already ran up like $8, $9, $10,000 in the last 5 or 6 days. I believe running up until the end of May, it runs up another 9,000 or so, settles at 120K. After 120K, we dip back down, maybe somewhere like 105, 110K. That's just my guess. Now, for June, July, and August, I expect this to be pretty slow months for Bitcoin, simply because June is one of the worst performing months in general. Okay, Bitcoin has basically had flat or negative returns almost every month in June in Bitcoin's history. But I think the fireworks are going to happen in September and October. That's where I think Bitcoin is going to really start to make its aggressive run towards 200,000. But I don't know if we're going to actually make it to 200K. I think maybe like 175, 180K is probably a good guess. So what should you guys be thinking about? Well, my number one goal right now is I'm already saving in Bitcoin. So my goal now is to kind of take all the other underperforming assets that I've had, like real estate investment trusts and things like that, particularly underperforming stocks, and simply roll them into either Bitcoin or IBIT. That's kind of my first thought. With Bitcoin well over 100K now, there's really very little risk of it crashing back to like 60 or 50 or 40 or something like that. Not now, guys. Okay, there's been too many people jumping on board, jumping on the Bitcoin train, starting new Treasury Reserve companies. Um, they've even got companies out here buying, um, distressed Bitcoin, from Mount Gox. It's like Bitcoin's created an entirely new ecosystem of business opportunities. I just don't see it crashing back towards like low five figures anytime soon. It's really amazing how, as the Bitcoin has gotten older, more and more business opportunities and more products and services are going to be launched off of Bitcoin, and it's going to really open up a whole new possibility. So, for a lot of you guys that are new to Bitcoin, realize that it is not too late. I repeat, it is not too late to buy Bitcoin. People said the same thing when Bitcoin was $10,000, when it was $1,000, when it was $100, even $1. Bitcoin will just continue to add digits simply because it's the best 21st century savings account available. Bitcoin is going to give you the best returns, in my opinion, out of any other kind of safe asset out here. And obviously, you've got things like, high risk options, or you can purchase like distressed properties and foreclosures and stuff like that where you can get a really high ROI. But what I mean by ROI is basically set it and forget it. Bitcoin's going to provide that best opportunity for you guys. And I figured this out in 2019. Okay. I was first introduced to Bitcoin in 2014. So it took me 5 years to figure this out. So I hope it doesn't take you guys watching this video 5 years to figure out that Bitcoin is where you need to have some of your money, because you're going to end up paying a lot more. And it's crazy to see your savings grow even though you're not really doing anything. It's a great invention. I only wish Bitcoin was around when I was much younger. The fact that Bitcoin was when it was invented, I was already in my mid 20s. So for a lot of you young guys out there watching, if you guys are like in your teens or early 20s, you guys are really lucky to have Bitcoin available to you when you're still young. And a lot of people didn't have this. When I was growing up as a kid, you had to invest in the stock market, bonds, index funds, mutual funds. I mean, you basically had to like give your money away to some stranger and hope for the best. And then Bitcoin came along and it gave us a way to like make money, and we don't have to trust anybody. We don't have to like give our money to a third party or like a CEO and say, please give me returns. Like this, no need. Just trust in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin we trust. You know, Bitcoin isn't everything, but when it comes to savings, it's the best by far. And these new all-time highs are just cementing the fact that more and more people every day wake up and realize that they need to get into Bitcoin. It's not too late. Okay, it is not too late to buy Bitcoin. Do not think that that is a big mistake. Instead of thinking about if it's too late to buy Bitcoin, realize that you need to ask question you need to ask yourself is it too late to save in Bitcoin? You need to start thinking about prices and saving in Bitcoin. You need to change your mindset. A really good book to read is The Bitcoin Standard. You can buy it on Amazon, guys. Read that book. It's called The Bitcoin Standard. I read that book a couple of years ago. I was already into Bitcoin, but it just opened my mind even further. And once you can get your mind out of that, like fear, anxiety, FOMO, and all that crap, once you can get your mind out of that, then it's so much easier for you to save in Bitcoin and just enjoy the ups and downs. We're in an all-time high now. There's going to be a down, but that's just part of being a Bitcoiner. That's just part of the Bitcoin experience, riding the ups and downs and not getting off the train until you get to your destination. So, like I said, very important. Next couple of days coming up until March 30, where I expect Bitcoin to hit around 120,000. We're going to talk a little bit more about this on this channel, but a lot of these Bitcoin treasury companies are going to be pumping much higher at the end of the year. So I'm going to be posting a lot more videos and more breakdowns, complete in-depth stock reviews on these companies because, I've been pounding home buy Bitcoin, buy IBIT to you guys. Hopefully you've understood this by now, but there's also a lot of new investment opportunities coming out here that I haven't touched on much, and we're going to talk about that more in the channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's celebrate the all-time high. But remember, we're not done just yet. A lot of people are not going to be celebrating until we hit $1 million for Bitcoin, and I do believe that is coming in the next couple of years. So there's a lot more gains to be had, guys. Instead of thinking of, $1 million for Bitcoin, just realize that we're more than a tenth of the way there, and we have a lot more gains coming in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a smash up, and be prepared to deploy that capital during the dump in the summertime, where right before that pump in September and October, we head towards 200K. So that's all I got until next time, guys. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Take care.